is a review for your Unit 2 exam. So basically on Unit 2, there's going to be key signatures, intervals, and scales. So to start off, I want to review key signatures. You're more than welcome to use the circle of fifths to help you. But one thing that I think you're going to have to get on your own is the difference between relative and parallel minor key signatures. And looking at your homeworks, you seem to know that pretty well. But just to review, remember that with relative minor, it's going to be the same key signature but a different tonic. And then with parallel minor, it's going to be a different key signature but the same tonic. So for example, let's say that we wanted the relative minor of D major. We would put the key signature for D major, which is 2 sharps, and then we would figure out what the starting pitch would have to be. So looking at a piano, you have to go down 3 half steps, remember? So let's make a little piano right here. So starting on D, we go down 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we land on B. So the minor of D major would be B minor, and so we have the key signature, and all we do is start on B instead of D. Now, if it was parallel minor to D major, you would have the same tonic, which would be D, but you would have a different key signature. So what we would do is it would start on D, so it would be D minor. So now we need to find the key signature for D minor. So let's continue our piano, and we go up 3 half steps, so 1, 2, 3, and that's F major. So now we put this key signature down for F major, which is 1 flat. So that's the difference between if you have the parallel minor of D major and if you have the relative minor of D major. Now also with key signatures, it's basically going to ask you how many sharps or flats a key has, different things like that. The order of the flats and sharps. So make sure that you know the difference between what the treble clef order is and what the bass clef order is. So for example, they're the same but they look a little different. So with flats, the order would be B, E, A, D, G, C, F, like that. But if we're in bass clef, this is how different it looks. A, D, G, C, and F. See how much lower it is? So that's the difference, and with sharps it's that much lower as well. So just be aware of what clef that you're in. So moving on to scales, basically what you need to know is the name of the different scale degrees and the different types of scales and how to make those scales. So for example, let's say that I ask for a major scale in D major. So what you can do easily is put the key signature up. So from previously we know that it's 2 sharps, F and C. That one's a little off. And so now what we do is start on D, and we need to have 8 notes, so D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And that's how we know what this scale is going to be. Now, in the test, it's not going to have this key signature. So this is here to help you. So what you're going to see is that you have the D to D, and then these accidentals need to be applied. So this key signature tells us that F sharp and C sharp need to be in the key for the major key. So this is to help you remember that when you do have the key signature, it needs to apply to these notes when you're looking at the scales on the test. Now let's look really quick at what the names of these are. So remember, the first note, the first scale degree, is always tonic. Okay, then we have supertonic, and then we have the mediant. Then we have subdominant. Then 5 is dominant. Then you have submediant. Then the leading tone. And then the tonic. Remember that the leading tone is always going to be a half step away when you have major scales and when you have harmonic minor scales, and also for the ascending part of a melodic minor scale. So let me outline that for you. So for major, harmonic minor, and melodic minor ascending, wow, I can't spell. This leading tone is going to be a half step away from the tonic. See how it's C sharp to D? C sharp to D is only a half step relationship. So make sure that you know this, because this will be a test question. That's why they call it a leading tone, because it's leading to the tonic. Remember the difference between the different minors. So there's 3 different minors. There's natural, harmonic, and melodic. Melodic minor is the one that has ascending and descending. Sometimes I'll ask you for ascending, sometimes I'll ask you for descending. So remember, with melodic minor, for the ascending part, it's going to be the natural minor, but you raise the 6th and the 7th scale degree. And then going back down, you lower them, or you natural them back to their original. So you're not doing anything to the 3rd, it's just the 6th and the 7th. So the only difference between this and major when it comes to ascending would be that lowered 3rd. Because when you have natural minor, you have a lowered 3rd. Then we go to melodic and we raise the 6th and 7th. So that's like it's going back to major, except that 3rd is still lowered. So let's review melodic minor really quickly. So let's say that I ask for E melodic minor. So what we're going to do is figure out what the key signature is that we need to put in, because that's most helpful when figuring out accidentals. You can also do the method where you know that you need to lower the 3rd, so on and so forth. But I think using the key signature for accidentals is the easiest. So for E minor, we're going to go up 3 half steps to figure out what the major key signature would be. So 1, 2, 3. It's G major, which is 1 sharp, F sharp. And then we start on E. I remember, since it's melodic minor, we have to ascend and descend. So we're going to do the ascending here. And you go up to E, and then you descend. So be careful, because sometimes on the test I only ask for ascending or I only ask for descending. And the point of that is to show that the ascending and the descending are different. So here what we need to do for the ascending is we need to raise the 6th and the 7th. So we would put a C sharp and a D sharp here. And then coming back down, you would natural them back to their original. All right. And then for natural minor, you're not doing anything. All it is you're just using the key signature of the major key. And then for harmonic minor, let's review that really quickly. This time we'll use bass clef. So let's say that we have A harmonic minor. For A harmonic minor, let's figure out the major key signature. So going back to our piano, we have A here. So we're going to go up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3. C major, which has no sharps or flats. So for A harmonic minor, we're going to start on A and go all the way up to A. And then we need, since it's harmonic, we need to raise the leading tone. And that's all that would need to be done. Now, talking about intervals, the main thing that you need to know is that there's 2 different parts to an interval. You have the number, and then you also have the quality. So let's say that on the test, I give you an E, and I say I want a major third above this E. That means that you would count up 3, counting the notes, so 1, 2, 3. Then we need to check whether it's major or minor. So in the key of E, we have 4 sharps and flats, which means that G sharp should be sharped in order to fit within the major key. So in order to make it a major third, we sharp this G. Now, the important interval that you need to know is the tritone, and know that there are 2 different options for a tritone. For a tritone, we can either have an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th. So let's say that I'm starting on G and I want a tritone. I'm going to show you both options here. So we're going to count up 5 because we know that it's a 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we need to figure out if this is correct or if it needs an accidental. So in the key of G, there's 1 sharp, which is F sharp. Currently, D is fitting within the major key. In order to go from major to diminished, you have to lower it twice. So that would now make it a diminished 5th. Remember to look back at the second interval notes because it'll show you that chart of how you go from major to diminished or major to augmented and perfect and so forth. So for the augmented 4th, we're going to count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember in G, the only thing that's sharped is an F sharp. So this C currently fits within the key. In order to make it augmented and go a step past G major, we would need to sharp this C. And therefore it's an augmented 4th now. Also, remember which intervals are perfect intervals. So we have perfect unison, 4th, 5th, and 8th. So remember that those are the only options for perfect intervals. And when these intervals are perfect, they need to fit within the major key. Otherwise, if you have a 2nd, 3rd, 6th, or 7th, and it's lowered, it means it's going to be minor, or it's major if it fits within the key, or it's augmented if it's higher than a major, and then it's diminished if it's lowered twice. So let me just show an example of that. Let's say that we want a seventh. So let's start on a A, and we want a seventh, so we're going to count up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then let's look at the difference between major, minor, diminished, augmented. So if we're on A and we wanted a major seventh, then what we would do is we would look at the key of A, which has 3 sharps, which is F, C, and G. This G is currently not sharped, which means that it's lower than the major key. So currently right now it's a minor. In order to make it major, we need to sharp the G. Okay, let's say that we wanted it to be augmented. That means that it needs to be raised from the major interval, which means that it needs to be sharped again. And remember, if it's a double sharp, you write that by using an X instead of 2 sharps. Now, we said that minor meant that there was no accidental because G is supposed to be sharped in A major. So currently this would be a minor seventh. If we wanted to make it diminished, we would have to go 1 half step lower than this minor interval, which would mean that we need to flat the G. And now that makes it a diminished seventh. So review your intervals, review your scales, the parts of the scale, and key signatures, and you'll be good to go.